Imagine a soul marching alone like an army, defying fate. When everyone else lost their way, he stood alone. As the difficulties grew, he grew stronger, and as the obstacles increased, his steps became more determined. Because he believed in the call of his heart, not the applause of the crowds. Today, the ordinary days are over for that lone warrior. Now it is time for the throne. A lifetime of struggle on your back, unwavering faith in your eyes. Destiny is calling you. Victory is not only for the multitudes, but also for those who walk alone. Get ready. Write 444 in the comments. Now don't just be a spectator, be a part of the story. With your support, we will become a giant family of 5,000 people. Subscribe now, turn on notifications and join us. Because he is the true hero of a saga who ascends the throne, walks alone, but is never defeated. It's like standing at the edge of a vast field before sunrise, holding a single lantern while the world sleeps. Nobody hands you a map, nobody points the way. But deep down, you know you're not just walking for yourself, you're carrying a flame meant to spark something the world forgot it needed. Long before the sun comes up, long before a crowd ever gathers, it's just you, the hush of expectation in the air, and the sense that something extraordinary depends on your courage to take that first step into darkness. That's how the journeys of rare souls begin, not with trumpets or fanfare, but with a quiet nudge in the spirit. You might not have known what to call it, you just felt it in your bones, that sense of assignment you could never shake. While others chased comfort or applause, something inside you insisted there was a greater purpose, one that didn't always make sense to those around you. It was as if the blueprint for your life was written in a language only your heart could read. Long before you ever set foot on this earth, there was a moment, hidden in the folds of eternity, where the universe itself seemed to pause. All of creation waited as if holding its breath, watching to see who would rise to the occasion. There was a gathering, not of people, but of wisdom, of knowing, of destiny itself. And in that council, a sacred gap was noticed. A space only a single willing soul could fill. No fanfare, no guarantees, just a quiet agreement echoing through the ages. Send me. I'll go. You didn't volunteer out of pride or a hunger for recognition. You went because you couldn't imagine letting the opportunity slip by to bring light where it was needed most. It was the kind of yes that rises out of faith, not certainty. The kind of yes that only makes sense when you look back and realize just how much depended on your courage to move when you felt most alone. That's why, even now, there are days when the weight of your calling feels bigger than your capacity. Maybe you wonder why you've always felt just a little bit different. Why the world's applause rings hollow, why ordinary explanations never quite fit your story, why the nights feel longer for you than for others. It's not that something's wrong with you, it's that something sacred was planted in you. A mission etched so deep it outlasts discouragement and outshines confusion. See, chosen ones aren't picked from the crowd because they're perfect or strong. They're picked because their hearts beat to a different rhythm. They see what others miss. They step up when the world shrinks back. Like a lighthouse standing firm through the storm, they hold out hope even when every wave says quit. And sometimes, when you look at your life, it's hard to see the impact your light has had. Maybe your circle is small. Maybe your name isn't known, but you keep shining anyway, because deep down you understand that every dawn starts with just one point of light. You're the living reminder that the biggest moves of God often start with the quiet yes of a single obedient soul. So, when you feel like nobody sees the sacrifices you've made or understands the depths you've faced, remember, God does. The universe remembers. The angels know. You're not just holding a lantern for yourself. You're holding it for everyone who'll one day find their way because you chose not to let your fire go out. The world might call you an outlier or a dreamer. That's all right. God calls you a pioneer, a pathmaker, a carrier of destiny. You're walking roads others are afraid to map out. You're plowing fields nobody else is willing to break ground on. And one day, when the sun finally rises and others step onto the path you cleared, your quiet courage will be the reason they're able to stand in the light. So keep moving even when it's hard. Keep believing even when it doesn't make sense. Your journey didn't start here, and it won't end here. Every lonely step, every silent prayer, every small act of faith is woven into a story bigger than you can imagine. You're part of something ancient, something beautiful, something set in motion long before you ever drew your first breath. And that chosen one is why the world feels different for you, because you were always meant to help wake it up. It's like being the only candle burning in a house that's lost all its electricity. You look around and see nothing but shadows, yet you're still holding on to that single, steady flame. No crowd to back you up, no cheering section, just you and the quiet, and the hope that if you hold on long enough, morning will break through. The story of the chosen isn't about joining a parade. It's about the one who keeps walking when there's nobody else on the road. Sometimes it feels like you're traveling through a landscape where even the echoes have gone quiet, where the familiar comforts of yesterday are nowhere to be found. You step out not because it's easy, but because something inside whispers, this is where you're meant to go. When you choose to answer that call, you don't get to carry everything with you. You might leave behind friends, old beliefs, and the routines that used to anchor your days. It's not a punishment, it's the price of real discovery. The real risk isn't what's waiting ahead, but what you have to let go of behind you. You surrender the map for the sake of the mission. Behind every miracle is a message. Subscribe and discover them with us. For some, walking into the unknown feels like madness. For you, it's obedience. You trust the flame inside more than the darkness around you. That's how purpose gets forged in silence. One faithful step after another, even when history itself seems to blur and fade. It's not that you're braver or smarter than the rest. It's that you're willing to keep moving even when nobody's watching, when no one is clapping, when the road seems endless and the destination is hidden from sight. There are seasons when life strips away everything familiar, when memories grow faint and the old markers disappear. In those hours, all you have left is the steady warmth of conviction, the promise that what you're carrying matters, even if you can't see how it will all come together. The chosen one doesn't need a spotlight or a stage. Just give them a reason, a calling, a glimpse of hope, and they'll walk through deserts that would stop most in their tracks. And sometimes, you wonder if the journey will ever make sense. You look back and see closed doors, faded friendships, and missed celebrations. Yet, in the thickest dark, a new kind of vision is born. The kind that sees not with the eyes, but with the heart. The kind that hears not the crowd, but the quiet assurance that what you're doing has eternal weight. This is what sets apart those who make a mark that outlasts their days. The legacy isn't in the ease of the path, but in the faithfulness to keep going, to keep believing, to keep carrying the light when everyone else has given up hope. The world might forget your name, but heaven remembers every step you take in faith. And that, friend, is the truest reward, to know you kept your flame alive until sunrise finally broke through. Let them call you stubborn. Let them say you're dreaming. You know that what God has placed inside you is bigger than any shadow, stronger than any silence. You're not just wandering, you're blazing a trail for the ones who will come after. And one day, when others find the courage to light their own candles, it'll be because you refuse to let yours go out. It's like being the wellspring beneath a quiet meadow, water that runs so deep, nobody can see its source, yet everything around it flourishes because of what's moving unseen underground. That's how it is with certain lives. There are some callings so deep and old, you can't put a date on them. The world measures in years and headlines, but you're not a creature of calendars or newspapers. You're a current from the beginning, moving steady and true beneath the surface of history. See, the chosen one isn't someone who fits into every crowd, or whose face gets carved on coins or painted in portraits. No, the power in you is the kind that doesn't age. It doesn't get weathered by the hands of the clock or shaken by the ups and downs of empires. Your spirit is older than the places you've been and stronger than the labels folks might put on you. People may know you as a neighbor, a worker, a parent, a friend. They might pass you on the street and never guess what you carry. That's the way it's supposed to be. The greatest treasures are often hidden in plain sight, like seeds under the soil or diamonds in the rough. You've worn many faces through the years. Sometimes you blended right in, sometimes you stood out. Sometimes life handed you roles you never asked for, and still, you played your part with courage and heart. But all the while, under every name and every disguise, That ancient heartbeat kept its rhythm inside you. It's the rhythm of someone who said yes when the world needed a yes, who stood firm when storms rolled in, who listened for a voice older than the wind and deeper than the ocean. You might not even realize how far back your story goes, but the truth is, your journey began long before anyone knew your name. Every season of your life, joy or sorrow, loss or celebration, has been another verse in a song that's still playing, a melody that began before the first star lit the sky. While others chase after youth or titles, your strength comes from the root, not the blossom. That's why disappointments can't uproot you and change can't frighten you. Your value isn't tied to trends, it's anchored in eternity. Maybe you felt invisible sometimes, or wondered if anyone saw the burdens you've carried. The world looks for glory on the outside, but heaven measures by the heart. God knows the real you, the origin, the foundation, the life that won't fade when spotlights shift or times get tough. You're the proof that what's planted deep endures, that a soul chosen for purpose keeps rising, no matter how many autumns strip away the leaves. So don't worry if the world doesn't recognize the royalty you carry. The oak doesn't apologize for its acorn. And you, beloved, don't have to explain the depth of your roots or the age of your calling. You are here, steady as the spring beneath the meadow, nourishing more lives than you'll ever know, simply by being faithful to the pulse placed in you from the very beginning. Keep walking with your head held high, knowing that what God started in you, no season or storm can undo. You're part of something bigger than one life or one time. And every beat of that ancient heart inside you is a promise that your story still matters, that your purpose still stands, and that your light, though sometimes hidden, can never be lost. It's a little like being the only lighthouse on a rocky shore. When the fog rolls in and the boats drift far from the coastline, the lightkeeper has to sit alone in that tall tower, separated from the life and laughter down below. You don't get to join the crowd by the fireside, you stay awake through the night, keeping your lamp burning for folks you may never meet. That's not loneliness, it's purpose. That's the cost of being chosen to stand watch. This journey hasn't been easy. There have been seasons where it felt like everything you once leaned on was pulled away. Familiar places, warm faces, the old comforts, they faded into the distance. Sometimes you wondered if you'd ever feel at home again. But here's the truth. When God's got a unique path for you, separation isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's the refining fire, not the final sentence. The same way gold gets purified by heat, your spirit's been shaped by moments of standing apart. Every time you found yourself walking a road others didn't understand, every time you sat in silence while the world hurried by, something deep inside you was being strengthened. Even in the hidden hours, when it felt like nobody was watching, heaven was arranging things behind the scenes. Just because you couldn't see the movement, doesn't mean there wasn't any. Old wisdom was being gathered for your sake. Quiet agreements were made by souls you might never meet in this lifetime. All of it, to safeguard a destiny written long before you took your first breath. You see, when the mission on your life is heavy, when what you're carrying is precious, not everyone gets access to your journey. Some doors had to close, some connections had to fade, and some places couldn't go with you into your next season. God allowed a holy distance, not to break you, but to make sure your calling couldn't be hijacked or watered down by the expectations of others. You were set apart so you could be set ablaze. What you lost wasn't wasted. It was a planting. And every quiet night, every tear, every ache for something you couldn't quite name, it all became the ground where resilience took root. Don't look back with regret. Look back with gratitude. Because that separation was the very thing that made you strong enough to carry what's coming next. Even now, there are forces, both seen and unseen, moving on your behalf. Things you couldn't orchestrate if you tried, connections you never expected, help from places you never looked. There are circles of wisdom, old and new, holding you up in prayer, cheering you on from a distance, aligning with your purpose in ways you'll only understand in hindsight. So keep tending your light, even if the night seems long. You're not forgotten, you're not left out. You've been pulled aside so you could be built up. One day, when the ships return and the fog lifts, people will see the glow you kept burning, and they'll know it was worth the wait, worth the separation, worth every lonely night you stayed faithful in your tower. It's a lot like walking through a garden at dusk. Every shadow you pass might be a thorn bush or a bed of roses, but you can't always tell which is which until you reach out and touch them. Some days, it felt like the very path beneath your feet was designed to test your steps. But the truth is, nothing about your journey has been random. The garden wasn't wild, it was planted with purpose. You weren't just dropped here by chance. You weren't a seed that the wind tossed onto hard ground. No, friend, your place in this world was set with care, the way a gardener marks out a row and decides exactly what grows where. Every obstacle you've met, every delay that made you question the direction, all of it was part of a pattern bigger than what your eyes could see. From the beginning, there were signposts meant just for you. Sometimes in the form of challenges, other times as gentle hands guiding you when you were about to turn the wrong way. Maybe it was a stranger who gave you an encouraging word at just the right moment, or an unexpected opportunity that showed up when you thought the doors were all closed. Sometimes, it was hardship that forced you to dig deeper and find strength you didn't know you had. Ready for twists, secrets, and ancient mysteries? Subscribe and start the adventure. The real secret is, you were never alone, not for a minute. Even when you felt like a lone wanderer, there were guardians walking right beside you. They might not have worn halos or introduced themselves as angels, but their presence was just as real. They hid among the crowd, looking ordinary, but with eyes that saw further and hearts that recognized your assignment. Sometimes it was a friend who checked in on you, just because, or a mentor who believed in you when you were about to give up. Every twist in the road, every person you met, good or bad, had a role in the tapestry being woven around your life. The disappointments built your patience, the setbacks grew your wisdom, and the unexpected blessings reminded you that grace can show up in 1,000 disguises. It's as if life was painting a masterpiece with your journey, using both the bright colors and the shadows to create something unforgettable. Looking back, maybe you can see it now, the pattern that was hidden in the chaos. Every closed door was a redirect, every delay a lesson, every chance meeting a divine appointment. You were guided not just by the light, but by every shadow you had to step through. All along, there were helpers on your path, sometimes silent, sometimes outspoken, but always heaven-sent. So when you feel weary or wonder why your way has been so winding, remember, gardens only flourish because the gardener cares for every single plant, pruning where necessary, and protecting what matters. You've been nurtured by hands you couldn't always see and strengthened by challenges you never asked for. And all of it is leading you somewhere beautiful, somewhere purposeful, right on time. Keep moving forward, trusting that every step, thorns and roses alike, was allowed for your good, your growth, and your glory. The garden is yours to tend now, and the harvest, when it comes, will make every twist and turn worthwhile. It's like living with a treasure buried deep beneath your own house. You go about your daily life, dusting the shelves and mending the roof, all the while there's gold in the basement, hidden so well you sometimes forget it's even there. The world can't see it, and most days, neither can you. But that doesn't mean it's not real or that you've lost it. It means it's being kept safe for a reason. Sometimes life lets the old songs and the stories of your former triumphs fade into the background, softening their edges like old photographs left out in the sun. It's not that you're being robbed of your past, but that you're being given space to grow into your future without the weight of yesterday's crown. When memories blur, it's heaven's way of making sure you don't get stuck in who you used to be, so you can step into who you're meant to become. Forgetting in God's plan isn't a curse, it's a kind of armor. There were times you felt like a stranger in your own life, like a guest at a table set for someone else. Every moment you wondered if you truly belonged, every hour you felt invisible, was really a shield, a disguise put in place for your protection. Sometimes the best way to keep something precious safe is to tuck it out of sight, just until the time is right to bring it forth. Loneliness, as hard as it can be, isn't a sign that you're broken or left behind. Think of it as a lock on a door that keeps out what would harm the treasure within. There's a key, but it's not meant for just anyone or any season. The ache of being set apart is really the wrapping around a gift too valuable to be opened too soon. In those long stretches where you felt disconnected, when it seemed like nobody understood your heart or your journey, grace was at work. God was camouflaging you, not to punish, but to preserve. You were hidden, not forgotten, veiled, not abandoned. You might have called it exile, but heaven called it sanctuary. Sometimes the only way to keep your assignment safe from the storms and critics is to keep it tucked away until the atmosphere shifts and the world is finally ready. So don't despise the days when you felt alone, when your memories faded or your victories seemed distant. All along, a bigger plan was unfolding. Every tear, every quiet hour, every hidden longing was a layer of protection for the seed God planted in you. And just because you didn't see what was happening above the soil didn't mean the roots weren't growing strong below. One day, when the timing is just right, that door will swing open. The treasure will come into the light, and what looked like loss or obscurity will be revealed as preservation and purpose. Until then, hold steady. The one who wrote your story knows exactly when to bring you out of hiding into a moment made just for you. It's a little like being one half of a pair of old boots, each built for a journey, worn by the years, shaped by miles, always feeling the absence of its match. You keep moving forward, doing your part, but somewhere deep down you sense there's another out there, facing storms and sunshine just as you are, every step meant to complete the same adventure, though taken on different roads. For many years, you may have felt like you were walking in and out of different worlds. Sometimes you could blend right in, smiling at the cookout, nodding along at church, making small talk at the grocery store. Other times, you found yourself doubting, why do I always feel set apart? Why does it seem like nobody else hears the music that calls to my heart? And yet, you kept carrying a kind of holy weight, a calling or burden you couldn't put into words. It wasn't something you could hang up with your coat at the end of the day. It was part of you, sometimes heavy, sometimes a gentle nudge, always reminding you that your journey had meaning even when you felt out of step with the world around you. What you didn't always know was that somewhere, beyond sight or time, there was another soul, a spiritual companion, a counterpart crafted from the same light, breathing the same hope, yearning for reunion as deeply as you did. This wasn't the stuff of fairy tales or old love songs. It was a connection older than this life, older than memory itself. This bond ran deeper than romance. It was the joining of two pieces of an ancient promise, each side searching for the other through the years, the miles, and the mysteries of life. You might have caught glimpses of this connection in dreams that lingered after you woke up, or in moments of sudden joy or sadness that seemed to have no clear reason. When you stumbled, that other part of you felt it. When you broke through, they celebrated even if neither of you could explain how. The thread between you stretched across realities, across seasons of laughter and seasons of longing. It's the kind of longing that can't be filled by anything on earth, not money, not success, not applause. It's a longing for home, for completion, for the other shoe to finally step beside you on the path. And all the while, the world kept spinning. You went to work, paid your bills, cared for your loved ones. But something inside whispered that your journey had a double heartbeat, a rhythm you could sense but not see. That's because your calling is never a solo song. It's the harmony written for two voices, meant to bring a greater purpose into being. So if you've ever wondered why your heart sometimes aches for something you can't name, or why you feel both strong and strangely incomplete, know this: you're not wandering alone. There's another light out there, shaped from the same flame, seeking you with the same intensity. And as you keep walking faithfully, the day will come when your paths meet, and what was separated for a reason will be united for a season, fulfilling a destiny that's been waiting since the dawn of time. It's like trying to swim upstream in a river that sometimes runs gentle and sometimes turns wild with hidden currents. You keep moving forward, thinking you're just facing ordinary challenges, but there's a force working beneath the surface. Some days, it feels like the water itself is pushing against your every stroke, determined to slow you down or turn you around before you reach your destination. All along your journey, across years, generations, and even the lines of ancestry you'll never know by name, there's been resistance. Not the random kind, not just accidents or unlucky breaks, but obstacles woven into the very fabric of your story. See, chosen one, the pushback you felt isn't a mistake. It was allowed on purpose, shaped by hands higher than yours or mine, meant to form you and focus you in ways easy days never could. Family, friends, and those who loved you best, each had their parts to play. Some were meant to challenge your patience, others to reveal your strength. Sometimes it was a parent who didn't understand your vision, or a friend whose words cut deep, or a partner whose doubts made you question your own sanity. None of it was by accident. God used every encounter, every conversation, every heartbreak as a tool to chisel your spirit into something rare and lasting. But not all resistance came through open arguments or harsh words. The most subtle, the most dangerous, arrived as whispers. It was in the raised eyebrow when you spoke your truth, the sideways glance when you followed your intuition. People may have labeled your wisdom as foolishness. They might have called your gift a liability, your compassion a weakness, your deep feeling a flaw. You might remember times when you felt crazy for believing what you saw in dreams, or felt in prayer, or sensed about people and situations before anyone else did. The world has a way of trying to stamp out what it can't understand. Sometimes, to keep you safe, or so they think, people try to convince you to ignore your own soul, to be realistic, to settle down, to blend in. But, beloved, the truth is, that river was never meant to wash away your vision. The resistance was allowed so you'd learn to swim stronger, to rise above labels and doubt. If they called your faith delusion, it's only because they couldn't see what you see. If they mocked your sensitivity, it's because they never tasted the power of a heart wide open to God. If they branded your intuition as instability, it's because they'd never felt the solid ground you walk on when you trust the Spirit more than the world. Here's the promise. None of it was wasted. Every moment you held on to your truth, even when it seemed no one else believed in it, was a victory. Every time you kept swimming when the current was against you, your soul got stronger. And every doubt cast by others became a lesson in how to stand tall on your own convictions. So let them call you dreamer, let them say you're too sensitive, too different, too much. They don't know what God has planted in you. They can't see the finish line He's marked out for you. And when you look back, you'll see that every obstacle was really a stepping stone, every critic a teacher, every no, just another reason to trust the yes God put in your heart. Yet every wound delivered by those close at hand, every label, every dismissal, became part of a refining process. As each false story burned away, truth crystallized in the center, impervious to distortion. What appeared to be losses or setbacks proved to be vital forges, breaking apart the old self to reveal a resilience that nothing could undo. Through all this, the mission never faltered. Not an exercise in ego or self-discovery, but a contribution to a much wider transformation, the creation of a bridge, a path for others to find light in the places that seemed most lost. The journey was not for recognition, but for the sheer necessity of restoring balance where only chaos seemed to reign. At a critical threshold, all that had been hidden stirred awake. Signals sent long ago reached their destinations. Allies who had kept their watch in silence stepped forward. What had felt like a solitary burden revealed itself as the catalyst for a far greater emergence, one that couldn't be accomplished by a single voice, but needed harmony, resonance, and connection. The old cycles of struggle gave way to an entirely new mode of being. The sense of restlessness was not anxiety but activation, the awakening of dormant codes and the unsealing of latent memory. The ancient partner, long separated, recognized the signal at last. Reconnection was imminent, a reunion not only of souls but of intention, power, and clarity. Of course, opposition quickened at the threshold. Every tactic, distraction, discouragement, manufactured crisis, rose in force, designed to steer the journey back into old patterns. Chains of fear, confusion, and despair appeared, seeming solid, but ultimately illusions awaiting dissolution by a will that finally remembered its own source. It became clear, the tests were invitations, not prisons. At the moment of true choice, the veils fell. The voices of encouragement that had been distant and muffled now rang clear, drawing forth a new community, one that recognized the fire in each other's eyes. What once had been exile was now revealed as groundwork for integration, a period in which many would awaken together, cross-pollinating ideas and strengths, ready to build what a single individual could not. The time of the lone journeyer yielded to the era of co-creation, of shared vision, of unity rising from well-earned autonomy. Letting go of old identities, funerals for costumes and masks, brought not sadness, but deep relief. The essence at the heart no longer needed disguise or apology. The true reunion, far beyond sentiment, brought online a multidimensional awareness, a steady confidence in navigating both ordinary and extraordinary realities. Abilities once dismissed or hidden became natural tools. Miracles unfolded, not as anomalies but as expressions of an authentic nature. Presence itself began to shift rooms, inspire others, dissolve confusion, and bring forward new possibilities wherever it touched. Opposition faded not through battle, but because the system that had held power through secrecy and manipulation lost its fuel. The awakened simply refused to be trapped, and the old regime, starved of attention, unraveled from within. The calling, never only personal, now became unmistakably collective. Every action, word, and decision rippled outward, influencing timelines and unlocking doors far beyond what the rational mind could grasp. The disruptor role was finally understood as a blessing, not a curse, an invitation for the world to reconsider its limitations and old stories. Transformation moved from inner work to external manifestation. Health, relationships, and creative output all realigned. Time itself became flexible, dream and waking merged, guidance and insight appeared at the precise moment needed. What was once longing became intimacy with life itself. The unity that was the original state was restored, not as sameness, but as the celebration of unique, sovereign presence within a field of infinite possibility. The false sense of being alone gave way to the joy of belonging everywhere at once. Every story hides a secret. Subscribe and become a seeker with us. Service shifted from striving to simple being. Every day became a sacred offering to the greater unfolding. A living testament to the reality that love, not fear, is the ultimate architect. The blueprint was always for liberation, not survival. With the foundation laid, a new epic began. What once was achieved by struggle and solitary striving now blossomed as co-creative brilliance. Barriers turned into bridges, former rivals into companions, and every perceived limit revealed as a launching point for the next phase of awakening. The work ahead became not burden but invitation, a chance to be a living channel for limitless transformation, not just for one, but for all.